Hello everyone, I am Suspicious Penguin. That one penguin slowly discovering it just keeps growing. Look at it. Look at it. It is literally everywhere. And I cut it every day, but I can't stop it. And it's out of control and someone's got to help. But I digress. So this video initially was going to be a defense for the game Evolve and why I'm still playing it and having a good time. For those who don't know, Evolve is a very fun and effective 1 versus 4 multiplayer experience in which one person will take on the role of a monster and the other 4 take on the role of its hunters, and the monster must eat, avoid the hunters, and gain enough energy, I guess, in order to evolve to its next stages, and the hunters must kill the monster before it gets to these stages where it is powerful enough to kill them all. So it's a pretty unique and fun type of experience and fun game. However, when writing this video of my defense for playing this game, I of course had to look over a lot of the game's criticism, a lot of its drawbacks, a lot of its problems. And I found myself realizing that this game is far from perfect. There are lots of rather annoying problems with it. And it got to the point where I said, you know what, fuck it. I am gonna have to make a video where I get to bitch to you guys about this game, because there are that many things wrong with it, I'm afraid. I will defend the game in a later video, so for now, this is part 1 of why I still play Evolve. Why the game sucks, and why it needs defending. So if you didn't know, the player base for Evolve has, I'm pretty sure, more than halved since its release date, and apparently is dropping by about 10% per day, which is worse than Titanfall. That's pretty bad. So some people are saying that this is because the game was overhyped, possibly, had a very rigorous advertising campaign since E3. However, I'm not so sure about that, because the game delivered what it promised. You know, it always showed the hunt mode, it showed the 4 hunters and the monster, and that kind of cat and mouse gameplay. So it wasn't like Destiny, you know, where it promised a huge story and that kind of, you know, progression and everything, and then just, you know, didn't deliver. And I think it did. I think it did deliver. So I think the reasons for this player-based decline are for far more basic problems with the game, which I'm gonna get into. Okay, to start off with, this is a huge issue with the game, is that it can be kinda boring. Some of these games can last up to 20 minutes, and the reason they're lasting up to 20 minutes is because about 18 of those minutes will be you hunting the monster, if you're playing the hunters, of course. Oh god, and then, in those kind of scenarios, you are running around these admittedly impressively huge maps, searching for this thing. And if it's a particularly good monster or particularly stealthy player, then you are gonna be spending ages finding it. And that is most of the game, I'm afraid. About 70% of the game is finding the thing. Now, that's okay, I guess, because that's part of the, you know, what they advertise. It's part of the tracking system, you know, and you do get trackers, and, you know, there are hints as to where the monster are. You know, you can see its footprints, you can see birds, but man, some games, you do just look at your watch and realize, oh my god, I have been playing this game for about 19 minutes, still haven't found this thing, and that's stupid. That means that you have spent that much time wandering around a map. That's not good. That's not okay. That is a long time for you to be spending doing nothing, and it's too much time, I'm afraid. Now, the game is, of course, best played with friends, because it does make this, you know, sometimes grueling experience of wandering around the map a little bit more enjoyable when you've got, you know, mates to suffer through it with and to chat. However, not many of my friends have the game, I'm afraid, anymore. So I am, these days, often left playing with, you know, strangers and random people, which is fine, I guess, but, you know, you're not often talking to these people, and then it gets tricky because then it is you, or it's a very silent trip, wandering around this map looking for this thing. Yeah, that can get a bit grueling. So another interesting aspect of the game is the essential nature of each of the classes of the hunters. You know, if you're the medic, then obviously your team are counting on you to keep them alive. And if you're the tracker, the team is counting on you to find the monster. So this is a bit of a double-edged sword, because I'll get into it in my next video. Although I do enjoy this. I quite like being depended on, and I like the feeling that, you know, I am important to this team. But if you are depending on another one of your teammates who is not really following through with his roles, even though it might not be his fault, you can't help but get angry at him. Because if that guy is the medic and he's just, you know, wandering around, not keeping you alive, your team is going to last minutes, less than minutes. It's going to be instantly wiped out because you are so essential to the team. Trappers as well. If the trappers aren't doing their job, then you're probably not going to find the monster, and we're going to be, you know, going back to those 20-minute walkabouts of the map. Assaults, they don't do their job, you're not going to damage the monster, and it's just going to, you know, tear your team apart. And support has a bit more leeway because its main role is to just support the team. But again, if one person, and that's all it takes, if just one person doesn't follow through, then your team is screwed. Now, of course, this also means that you don't really have much individual agency when you are playing, or any of these members of the team, of the hunters. So you can't really just wander off and explore, you know, these huge maps, or, you know, really do anything without the full consent of your team, because you won't last 10 seconds by yourself, and neither will your team, because you're that needed. If one guy thinks he knows where the monsters are, and the rest of your team is going another direction, even if that guy is right, he's going to have to go off of the team, because you cannot go off by yourself, and plenty of people do, and it can ruin a game. Now, this might be a bit of a flat and general accusation to make, you know, of all Evolve players. I'm not saying all Evolve players are like this, but I do get this feeling that because of the essential nature of each of these classes, it does spawn this type of attitude and this type of person where if someone has their mic on, you know, they're just going to be complaining at you if you're not doing your job. It's kind of a shame. Yeah, just kind of, I feel like the gamers kind of develop these, you know, elite players, you know, they know what they're doing, and if you don't know what you're doing, you're kind of an idiot, and, you know, they'll let you know. Now again, that's a harsh thing to say about every Evolve player. I'm sure it's not like that, but I do bump into more of these type of people in Evolve than I'm pretty sure I do any other game. Most people that keep their mics on in Evolve are just gonna yell at you. Maybe I have just met a few of the bad apples that have spoiled the bunch. You know, that's probably a harsh generalization. You know, but do let me know if that's what you think as well, because that is what I have come across pretty much every time I plug my mic in, and it's a bit of a shame. Now, of course, if you don't feel like interacting with these kind of people or playing as the hunters, you can play as the monster. Again, the monster is pretty fun, and the different types of monsters, they're also good. You know, the distinction between them is relatively clear. They're not just different skins for the monster. You know, they have different abilities, they have different powers, so it feels like a different game most of the time. The problem, though, is that because of the nature of, you know, the game itself, the cat and mouse type of gameplay, you're going to be adopting pretty much the same mechanics and the same strategies every time. You know, you're going to be hiding from the hunters, you're going to be feeding off creatures, you're going to be being stealthy, and no matter what monster you play, you're going to be using the same kind of tactics, and that was a bit of a shame, I thought. They do kind of play the same way, and, you know, but in both cases, you do need to get up, you know, to like stage 3 before you take on the monster. So you're going to be, before you take on the hunters, so you're going to be wandering on the map looking for food, using the same strategy and the same pattern of methods every time. So that was a bit of a letdown, I thought. Okay, so this brings me to one of the bigger problems and criticisms of the game, and that is it just feels small. It feels like I'm still playing the beta. That's bad. That's what it feels like. A few months ago, I remember playing the beta, and I really enjoyed it. It was fun. It was a new experience. It was great. I thought, oh, right, if this is a sample of the game, I can't wait to see what the full game is like. What all the different monsters can do and all the different maps. And and I get it. I pay a pretty decent amount for the game. I didn't get it full price. I was lucky a mate gave it to me. But if I did pay full price for it, I would be pissed. There are 12 maps in the game, and they all feel the same. I'm sorry that they do. They're impressive. They are huge, all right, and that's great. But I couldn't tell you the names of them. I couldn't describe the different ones to you. There's so few that jump to mind. The graphics in the game are impressive, all right. They are good. You look at the characters, especially on the monsters and the characters. You look at the hunters, and you can see all the scratches on the armor, and you can see all the blood of the monster and the bits of it falling off as it gets shot at by the hunters. That's great. That's really impressive. But the maps, yeah, they're graphically impressive. Yeah, they look great and the resolution's pretty good, but they're just not very pretty. They're pretty ugly. They're all really black and grey and muddy and brown with these dark skies above you, which you're so covered in clouds, and they all just look like they're in the same environment. The environment is pretty ugly, which is a big shame. Now they are bringing more maps, free, which is good, via updates, which I am looking forward to actually. I will look forward to seeing, I don't know, if there is any more diversity between the maps. But yeah, for now, not impressed with the maps, I'm afraid, and that's just one way the game feels small. The game's primary mode is Hunt. And again, this is what they advertise, and Hunt is the funnest mode. That's the one which you are searching for the monster. And there are two others, which are Nest and Rescue. And yeah, the objectives are a little different. So the play style does change, but it's the same kind of tactics, it's the same monsters and the same characters. So it's going to play quite similarly, and it's the same maps as well. And then there's Evacuation. Now, Evacuation, right, is the campaign, so to speak. Now, there isn't any story to speak of. There's like an opening cutscene and two separate final cutscenes, depending on whether the monsters or the hunters win. The final cinematics are pretty underwhelming, and sadly, the ending to this campaign is just so unsatisfying. You don't get any answers. You don't find out what these monsters are. You don't find out anything else about the characters of the hunters, which I was intrigued with when it first came about. Like, they were pretty fun, but the most you get out of the hunters is just the dialogue that they exchange occasionally throughout the game, and that gets pretty old after a while. When you first open up Evacuation, you get this cinematic basically explaining how the replayability factor of this is amazing. There are 100 different combinations of the different maps and the consequences of a victory and defeat in each one. If the monster wins, then he gets allies, and it changes the game entirely. It doesn't, sadly. Like the game still feels pretty similar, regardless of who wins the last map. So there are 5 maps within a game of Evacuation, which is basically 5 normal skirmishes, just one after another. So it's rounds of the same game mode that's available from the start. So it's not even a separate storyline or a separate campaign. No, you're just doing 5 of the same game that you're used to. Now, one of the reasons the game might feel so small is because of the DLC controversy. And if you've heard of Evolve, you might have heard of this problem. It's pretty synonymous. So, with DLC, with downloadable content, I don't mind if it offers something extra to the game. If it adds a few hours of experience, or a few more hours of gameplay, even some skins or something stupid if you're willing to pay for it. If it adds to the game, then that's fair. That's fair. All right, I can justify that, and I can accept that. But with Evolve, it feels like they've taken out of the game and are selling it back to you. It feels just like that. And that's probably unfair, because I know that they're still working on a few of the maps, they're still working on the 4th monster, it's still under development, but upon release, they immediately withhold 3 extra characters from you, 4 extra characters from you from the Hunters. And of course, you can only get them if you've paid for the season pass, or if you've spent another 20 quid towards one of the more legendary edition games, which I'm getting really sick of games doing that. You know, Evolve is the worst case, where it just feels like they're selling half a game to you and then you have to buy the other half later on. Now, it's probably mostly the case of Evolve because the game just feels so small anyway, but it is a huge problem. It is, and it's what's driving a lot of people away from the game. And it's kind of, I understand, it's totally fair. Oh, so much complaining and bile for game. Oh God. Oh, okay. I think that's all of my hatred and bile for this game gone. I feel great. I feel so much better now. Okay. Whew. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about why Evolve is a great game. A game that I'm glad I bought, and a game that I am still playing. Although, maybe we'll do that next video. Oh my God. Okay.